Welcome back to Saffa's Unscripted, episode 179. People, we are sorry. We haven't posted in a little bit. It's because Brevan is sitting in this lovely little ESCOM thing that we call load shedding. So he doesn't know when he has power, right? And it's kind of never at the moment. It's just spawned once again. If you're in the lovely Cape Town, you most likely don't feel it because we have the city of Cape Town, obviously. But Brevan's been fucking sitting there in the dark like he's Batman. Brevan, brother, how you doing?
Yeah, sorry about the wait for uploads. But yeah, unfortunately, they say, well, for those that don't really fully understand load shedding, it's supposed to be a 2-hour thing. But sometimes after 2 hours, they don't switch the power back on because something happens and then you don't have power the whole day.
Always.
So this is a reoccurrence every single time load shedding
we
occurs.
had it the other day. We had an extra slot, right? Like sometimes you get a lovely little 4-hour slot. Well, we do, right?
Yeah.
So we should have been powerless from 2 o'clock till 6 o'clock. Bro, the power went on at 9:15. I didn't feel it. We have inverters, but for the others,
yeah, no, it's a problem. But yeah, excited to be back.
The people in Europe that actually watch this, they're like, "What the fuck is the inverter? How does that work?" Solar.
Yeah, struggles.
It's one of those things. Listen, we didn't manage to do a preview on the Six Nations for last weekend. We couldn't do our review, so we're going to chat a bit about what happened this weekend. Obviously, it was a phenomenal weekend of rugby, Super Rugby the morning. Then you had the Six Nations to top it off with. I'm guessing you don't want to talk too much about the Bulls versus the Lions. And then we'll just quickly fly through some URC. We've got some more Saffa Derbies, so we obviously have to chat about that. So we've got a bit of a stacked episode, but we'll kind of rinse through it. Good to go, bro.
Yeah, let's get cracking.
Okay, we started off with by the way, right before we start, please do remember to hit that like and subscribe button. We do appreciate you guys from wherever you are, right? Because we just chat a bunch of shit. So if you do like that, this is the place to be. Anyway. Let's go. Calcutta Cup. England's finally done it. I don't know how. Right, we spoke about England putting up solid performances in the Autumn Nations, but just not getting it over the line. Now, it feels like they're stinking it out a bit. They're getting the results, beating France, beating Scotland, after I feel like Scotland dominated, right, for so many periods of the game. But England still got a way to do it. Did you think England's going to do it?
I thought England would win, but I thought they'd win more comfortably, to be honest. I thought they were going to be way too good for Scotland. And obviously, look, but the thing is, people need to realize, right, it's like any derby you get in football, rugby, whatever. When it's a serious, like, heated rivalry, it's always going to be a good game, close game, and it's always going to be feisty, and that's exactly what this was, right? Obviously, in my personal opinion, I don't think the Scots are where the English are at the moment, but because it's this rivalry, it's this history match that, you know, both teams live to play for, Scotland will turn up 9 times out of 10 against them, and same for England. So, yeah, but I did think England would win more comfortably just because I think they have a lot more, let's say, talent. I think there's a lot more talent in that team. But fair play to the Scots. Even Duan van der Merwe getting man of the match in a losing team, like, got to give them credit. But I think England will be shooting themselves in the foot because obviously now France kind of just need to beat Ireland, and that's pretty much them winning the Six Nations. Whereas if England had got that bonus point, I think things might have been different. So, yeah, still interesting, up for grabs, but will be very interesting.
I'm more on the side of Scotland will be kicking themselves in the asshole, right? The opportunities that they had, the dominance that they had. And I mentioned it on the Casual Bars Rugby channel where I was like, people are blaming Finn Russell a lot. And you know, right, that I'm not a huge fan of Finn Russell. I don't see necessarily all the hype around it. I think he's a good 10. I don't want to take anything away from him being a good 10. But blaming him for that, it's a bit harsh. Right? Obviously, you can blame a guy in terms of the kicking when one guy goes 5 for 5 and the other one goes 0 for 3. Yeah, I can see where it's coming from, right? But I thought he had a decent game at 10. It's just the opportunities and the dominance that they had to not go and win that game. And then the ill discipline at the end really cost them. I don't want to talk about the referee or anything like that. There was a couple of touch and go decisions. I mean, look at that Tommy Freeman try. But in the end, like for England, still getting it over the line. A crazy stat to me is, and I'm sure you've heard it, and a lot of people have spoke about it, 17 passes and 16 tackles for your fly off. Imagine. That is crazy. That is crazy.
Yeah. I don't think people realize how good Finn Smith actually is. Obviously, the English will know. But Finn Smith is like phenomenal. And I mean, would you stick, obviously, but Furbanks were probably going to come back at some point. But would you stick with this whole Marcus Smith at 15 and Finn Smith at 10? No?
No, I wouldn't. I think on paper it looks good, but the way that they are coached and the way that England approach the game at the moment, it doesn't work for me in terms of their attack. If they had another bit more fluent coach, if they had, for instance, a Franco Smith from Glasgow, for instance, who loves his attack, right? That would have worked so nicely with two first receivers or whatever. But I feel like the way that they integrate Marcus Smith into the game in that 15 role, he loses so much of his specialist abilities. I think he's a world-class 10. I think he's probably the best 10 in the world currently on form. And now he's not playing in that position. And the way that they're playing him at 15, he doesn't have that time. He doesn't have that space for his creativity necessarily. And you can see it. Like, I don't think he's carrying any attacking threat. You look at that run that he made. It was a great run. But that was just because he was put in a hole where he's usually the guy doing the creativity. This is the same Marcus Smith that literally ran the show for England in the Autumn Nations. Now, yeah, they didn't get the victories or anything, but he was by far the standout player. Do you remember how you always spoke about Sasha? He's a great 15, but he is a 10. He's a world-class 10. He's a specialist 10, and you don't want to see him play 15. And I think it's the same thing with Marcus Smith. Why would you take your best player, not your best player, but your best 10, and not play him at 10? I think Finn Smith is class, but I'm sure you can figure out something else for the fullback position. And I think for Marcus to have moved out of his position and Finn to take that 10 jersey, it's a bit of a knock to the head for him. I don't know. When you're just the best in that position, I don't feel like you should move. They could rather get their second choice 15 in there rather than move your first choice 10 into your second to third choice 15, if you get what I mean.
Yeah. The thing is, right, like, they're both such phenomenal 10s. It's like you don't want to lose both, if that makes sense. It's one of those things. But you're right in the sense that I can compare it to a Sasha situation where you think Marcus Smith needs to be the next, or I've heard some say it, but next kind of like Johnny Wilkinson, the next guy to take this English rugby generation forward.
I don't see that as a bad shot because he's young enough. He's got the talent. He's showed it every now and again, but that's to be in that 10 jersey. Johnny Wilkinson didn't play fullback.
Yeah, so, and it's the same. I always said it for the All Blacks as well. Like, I don't understand why Beauden Barrett ever played 15. He won how many World Player of the Years at 10?
Yeah, but to be fair, Richie Mo'unga.
No one's better than Beauden Barrett at 10, other than maybe Dan Carter.
Prime Beauden Barrett, yeah, but Richie Mo'unga proved that he deserved that. 10
yeah, fair, but also, yeah. But my point is that...
No, I get you.
Yeah. But England, like you said, putting up these decent little games in Autumn Nations and just not throwing it away, bottling it, and now putting in these, not stinkers, but you could say...
scraping by.
scraping by, and they're getting it over the line, which is perfect because, listen, we kings at that. We have played some seriously bad rugby and won some good games. So it
and
helps.
we were always like, that's what the good teams do, right?
Exactly.
Because
So
we were judging England and we're like, well, their defense isn't great or whatever. Bro, they're only defending at the moment. I swear they are
their
making
defense is
more tackles than running meters.
yeah, the English defense is actually come leaps and bounds from last
Yeah.
year. I remember how easy it was for teams just to break them apart, and now they really are finding a way to kind of protect themselves, because realistically you can't win games if you're conceding 30 points a game. Like,
Yeah,
it's just
no, I agree.
it's,
I just wanted to give a quick shout out to the Scots, right? Because they only lost by the 1 point. You still got to one van der Merwe that got man of the match. I wouldn't have necessarily given him the man of the match. I thought he was great, but I was whoops. I don't know what's going on. Did I just leave?
someone happened something. I don't know what
Oh, the
happened.
same as last time. Technical errors. Jamie Ritchie played the game of his life. I thought he was sensational. Blake Horn, how good is that guy? I don't want to hear anything about Hugo Keenan being 15 for the British and Irish Lions. That is Blake Horn's jersey all day. I thought Tom Jordan had a good game as well. I thought he really got stuck in there. Yeah, it's tough for the Scots, but it is what it is. Let's move on. The Welsh. The
Gatton was the problem.
The sad part is they did not get a point from that game.
Yeah, I was a bit disappointed. But fair play, like, that was guts. To get your legendary coach that's been with you for years and who's built his name around Welsh rugby to obviously leave with immediate effect, and now you have a week to train with this new coach. They did flipping well. Like, you have to give them credit. I mean, for large parts of that game, they were looking better than Ireland. Obviously, I do think Ireland had a bad day at the office, don't get me wrong. But you can only play what's in front of you. And the Welsh seriously took it to the Irish. I thought for a second this might actually happen. But
Do you think
Irish,
this is my prediction? I called the Welsh to get a victory, but it's not going to be Italy.
yeah, it's disappointing to see. Not that because I'm like this Irish hater, right? It's just, imagine the scenes, like the scenes of Welsh. The Welsh, it would have been insane.
It would have been absolutely crazy. But this is the thing, right? Because we spoke about Gatland not picking his strongest guys. You saw Max Llewellyn coming in. How good was Max Llewellyn in that 13 channel? How good was what's his name? Ben Mee? Ellis Mee? Sorry. Who the hell is Ben Mee? Ben Mee over. Right. Ellis Mee on the wing. Untackleable. He was so good. And I don't necessarily think Ireland were that bad. I do believe they had an off day at the office. I do agree with that. But I'm not going to sit here and say, okay, well, they just stank it out. I just think Wales pitched up. They had the crowd backing them. The Principality can be extremely loud when they want to be. They back the team. They back the coach. They back the playing style. Because Wales said, fuck it, let's go balls to the wall and actually play some ruggers. And that's exactly what they did. And you have to go out and respect it. They looked way better than they've looked in the past 2 years since the World Cup. Right? Like, they have not looked like winning a single game. Maybe for that Scottish game in the second half of last season, Six Nations, they looked fine. But other than that, they have looked terrible. They put up a solid 80 minutes performance and said, listen, we're going to actually take you on. And the Irish really had to pull it out of the bag. I mean, they lost, obviously, credit to Ireland, losing Gary Ringrose, defensive masterclass usually from him, to lose your main defensive guy. Bundy Aki came out of World War II in that game. What a performance he put up from the bench. I thought Sam Prendergast got some heat, and I was like, bro, he was pretty fine. I thought he was really, really fine. So well done to Ireland in the end. But class by Wales. That's the Wales that we want to see. That's the typical Wales that we are like, they're tough to beat. Like, you can beat them, but it's not going to be easy. Doesn't matter who you are. It's going to be tough to beat them. They nitty-gritty performances. And that's basically it, right? I'll give you the floor for this one. France versus Italy. Italy coming off, what was it, a 1 or 2 point loss. Then in the next Six Nations, they had a draw.
No, they were
And
coming
now
for
they
a win against Wales.
no. I'm talking about they came off a 1 point loss against France. Then they drew against France. And then they go into this one. It could have been the day. And they got hammered by 50 points.
Yeah, that's what happens when the French are pissed off.
We spoke about that.
Like people don't realize. Say what you want about this French team. When they are pissed off and they want to play rugby, they will play some of the best rugby you have ever seen. Like it is brutal to watch sometimes because Italy had no answer. Like there was no answer to that, and this is the things I worry about
And this was not a bad Italian team. This Italian team took it to France, and then they got spanked.
Yeah, so these are the things I worry about as a Springbok fan when we go and play there in November. Because no, like seriously, that Irish, I mean not that French team will be thinking about that World Cup quarterfinal. They'll be fired up, and trust me, if Russie does not have a team that pitches up at 100%, we will lose. It is going to be an insane test match. But going back to Six Nations, France have now put it. I would say it's in both Ireland's and France's hands, because obviously, if France beat Ireland away, which is going to be tough, but I think they can do it if they play their best. That's probably, and they win by a bonus point. That's up to 16 points. If Irish only get even 1 point, it takes them to 15. It's completely in France's hands then. So that game, and I'm correct, that's the game on the 8th of March.
The next one.
Next one. I mean, that's the decider, in my opinion. And I called France to win the Six Nations. So, flip. If they pitch up like they did, it's going to be seriously
let me put it to you like this. Brilliant performance by France. I'm not taking anything away from it, right? I do believe that Italy really played into their hands with the way that Italy approached that game, especially defensively. I'm looking at that Irish game and the South African game for that sake, right? Where it's like we are teams that pride ourselves on defense, right? That the Irish structure is very good and our defensive structure is very good. And then we like the open play, whatever, because we have those dangerous guys. I don't see that Irish system giving that backline of the French that much room and space to deal with, to get that ball into the wide channels willy vanilly, right? Because they got that ball to Louis Bilberain at the Sogway like it was absolutely nothing, right? Those guys had so many touches on the ball. I just can't see where Ireland allow that. Ireland's defense is too structured, too quick for that to happen. Now, I'm not saying that they will nullify this French attack completely, because they will get a chance. With the way that they play, they will get a chance here and there. But the thing is, Italy didn't adapt at all. They got crushed on the outside the whole time. And then as soon as they finally moved out, then the gaps on the inside opened up again. Right? So they just gave too much space and too much room for the French. Now, still, the French just looked clinical. How many chances can you see that they didn't take? I feel like they took every single chance that was there. I know every now and again I wouldn't say we slate Antoine Dupont. We both think he's great. He's a great player. He was world class. He was sensational. He was running that game in that 9 jersey. I thought Tomo Ramos in that 10, brilliant. Louis Bilberain, how good was Barry or Beret at fullback? Just involved everywhere. And my man of the match actually was Mofana. The guy was a monster, absolutely everywhere, just pitching up absolutely everywhere. I want to ask you a question because I actually had the opinion. When they go with the 7-1 split and Luke is on the bench, I would not take off, for instance, Ramos for Luca and move Dupont to the 10. It's the same thing with the Marcus Smith. I think Dupont, arguably the world's best 9, right? I wouldn't take him out of that position in that 9. I don't think he offers you the same at 10. I thought like the French did lose a lot of their attacking threat when he went to 10 because he's not a specialist 10, right? They can maybe do it at Toulouse where they're a world-class team that can butcher absolutely everyone. But when you're at international level, I don't think you should be playing DuPont at 10. Maybe you can play there if you really need to. But if you do that to against a team like South Africa, against the All Blacks or the Irish or whatever, he could get found out. And then you've subbed off Tomo Ramos. Then it's gone. You can't bring him back on. I'm not a massive fan of DuPont going to 10 just because he's so good at 9. Don't take him out of that position.
But also, right, my personal opinion of it is, obviously, look, it's a risk. There's always an injury risk. But if your plan is to keep DuPont on for the full 80 minutes, then why have a scrum off on the bench? Like,
yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, they obviously did it so that scrum off can come on and DuPont can move to 10.
That's the thing. I agree with you in the sense that that's stupid because why do you want to take Ramos off? Those are two of your best players, like your two game-changing players. If you want anything, put on a center or a utility back that can play obviously 15 wing or center, and then Louis Bilberet, if touch wood, if DuPont gets injured, I think he could do a job at scrum off. So
it's the same as what we did in the World Cup final with not going with a scrum off replacement, right? Because we knew Jason Colby can slot into that 9 jersey. So you can either have your 9 as a replacement, but then your 9 has to come on for your 9, right? Or you can go with the utility back, as you just mentioned, and then someone else your 9 plays the 80, or you can switch it up to a wing playing there. But yeah, that's just obviously our opinion. The French would know a lot more. I have seen him playing for Toulouse at 10, but it's a different ball game. I just felt like he's not that great of a 10 as he's a 9.
It's a completely
I don't think he's a great 10.
Yeah, it's a completely different position. Like, you must remember, it's like asking Eben Etzebeth to maybe play at 8. It just wouldn't make sense, you know.
He could probably do a job there in terms of the carrying.
He could do a job. Like, DuPont can do a job at 10, but you want someone at 10 who sees the game.
Yeah, your 10 runs
DuPont
the game.
sees the game in an amazing way. But a 10 is a 10 for a reason. And it's probably the most difficult job, other than prop, etc., to play, because you have to pull the strings and you see things that the scrum off doesn't see. It's just, it's completely different. So, I'm with you. I think.
But overall,
7-1, you've got to use a utility back if you want to use Ramos and DuPont for the full 80.
Yeah, but overall, brilliant by the French. That is a. What's your opinion on? I brought this up the other day, where it's like the Irish kind of needed that. Let's just say a bit of a lackluster performance against Wales, and seeing the French be as dominant as a wake-up call to say, "Holy shit! Okay, strap in. It's going to be a tough day at the office." Maybe the Irish needed that to say, "Listen, we can't be in cruise control. This is not the French that have lost to England," because we all know there's a caveat behind that English loss where it was like 4 butcher tries, like 95% should have been scored butcher tries, and there was 4 of them. So, what's your opinion on me stating that?
So, I think it's good because obviously it's exactly what happened with France, right? They lost against England and they got that wake-up call straight away. Now, obviously, the Irish would have probably thought it would be a comfortable day at the office against Wales. I'm not saying they would have gone in there underestimating them, but you do know when you kind of can see a game where you think it can be comfortable, and it was anything but that. So I think it will definitely wake up the Irish, and I personally think people are calling for Sam Prendergast or Crowley or whatever. I don't know what the Irish opinion on this is, but it's realistically it's going to be Prendergast again, and I think this is such a massive game for him. Like, this is huge because
this is the game that he has to start. I feel like the young guy.
Yeah, this is where you learn more about yourself.
To take him out, to play him all the games and then take him out for this one, that would be bad.
Yeah.
And it doesn't deserve to get dropped. I think he's been playing pretty well.
He's done perfectly fine for a youngster at playing a 10 role for Ireland. Like,
yeah,
give him time and he will be better. But yeah, it's a big game for him because obviously the French will see an inexperienced international 10 and they'll want to put pressure on him.
Yeah.
And we know the French are a physical side. Run your centers in his channel, hold that, like test the guy. That's it. And also, I think the French, the way I would approach this game as a French, well, this is just me, is I would want Dupont making this one of the quickest games of rugby you will see. Dupont must be at that rough ball out in 2 seconds. And like you said, if I don't care who you are, if your game is playing at that pace, you'll get your ball to the wing 9 times out of 10, 8 times out of 10, because of the pace of the game. And that's exactly what France want to do. So I think the French need to literally go into this game guns blazing, like attack, attack, attack. Obviously, Irish have their structure, but you just got to bank on your attack. I think you literally just got to go and say, listen, we know the Irish are probably going to find us out and they're going to score points, but we got to score more. And just, yeah. So that's how I would personally see it.
Let's move on to the URC, and we'll only chat about it. We don't need to chat about the other games because it's still weekend teams. I feel like we do a bit of a disservice. So we'll chat about the Lions and the Sharks, and then once again, we've got the Bulls versus the Stormers. This time at Loftus. Let's actually start there because it's our two teams. I don't know when we win a game again. I really don't.
Yeah, look.
By we, I mean the Stormers, for the ones that don't know. Yeah. Brevin is a Bulls fan, and myself, I'm a Stormers fan.
We both are quite unlucky with injuries at the moment, especially you guys. But I didn't realize Hanekom had a little niggle. Obviously, I knew Marsak would see had a concussion, but I didn't know Hanekom had a niggle, and that's left him out for the past 2 games. I suspect he will return, but we have had missing players like Ulrich Loh, obviously, Marcel Kutsia, Cameron Hanekom, Akka van der Merwe in the last game wasn't there, Ruan Nokia, Johan Goosen. So we've missed a fair amount of players as well, and important ones. But the Bulls, for me, again, start well, you let the Lions back in, and then because you have the better players, in my opinion, you pick up the victory. But I don't know what to think about this Bulls team. I think Jake's head's on the chopping block. I have no other words for it.
Oh my goodness, are you not backing your boys at home against the Stormers?
No. Look, I do think we'll win. You guys are very unfortunate with your situation and the players that are out. But I don't see us winning this comfortably. That's for sure. I see it being again 2-3 point game, because we have the inability to close out a game, or let's say keep a distance between scorelines.
Yeah, the Stormers losing to the Lions would have been a massive bump for us, right? We thought we played fine against the Bulls, but then we had to kick on and actually get some points again because we lost. We were on a decent winning streak. Then we lost to Racing, we lost to the Bulls, we lost to the Lions now as well. So now all of a sudden your good run of form has just been totally stunted. Kitsov has come out and said, okay, I'm retiring from rugby, which is obviously massive news as a Stormers fan and as a Springbok fan. We splashed money to get him back to the Stormers. He didn't play a single game for us when returning. And obviously, it's sad, but he has to look out for his health. That was not I won't be able to walk again. I won't be able to play rugby again. That was I might not be able to breathe again situation. So that decision had to be made, and I think we all felt it was coming. It was coming sooner rather than later. So hopefully the boys put up a performance for Kitsov because I'm pretty sure he'll be there, right? It's the first game after the massive announcement, but we're sitting in 10th as I'm looking at the table here. 11 games, 24 points. Right, the Bulls, 11 games, 40 points, nearly double our points. We need a massive performance. And yes, the Bulls have lost at Loftus, giving out sweets. It's just for the fun. But, it's still at Loftus. It's always tough to beat the Bulls at Loftus. For the first time in a very long time, I'm not backing my boys to get it over the line. I'll always back the Stormers, but just with all the injuries, with the morale, it kind of feels like in the team, I still back the boys after we had the injuries. But when your coach comes out and talks about it, when your social media team makes a post of all the injuries that's there, you already know it's really starting to get to this team. And I don't want to say I'm writing off the season or anything. I do believe if we can somehow scrape into the top 8, we can do some damage, because I saw a list of our boys coming back, and most of them are coming back within 4 weeks, and that's what was about 2 weeks ago. So hopefully one of them got a little elixir boost and they're coming back even earlier. But it is tough at the moment, and especially in that 10 channel when you know there's no Marnie, there's no Sasha, there's no Damian Willemse, and it just feels a bit like Yuri Mattia is really struggling to find his feet in that 10 jersey. We're struggling in that 9 channel. Our boys on the wings that are always so dangerous just doesn't feel like they're carrying that attacking threat necessarily. And the Bulls have had our number, so I'll back the Bulls, and I'm going to say the Bulls still get it done by about 8 points. I think you'll probably get a quick start, and then we maybe fight back a bit, same as the Lions game played out, but it won't be enough. And it fucking saddens me to say it, but it is what it is.
Look, at the end of the day, right, I still think your performance against the Lions was weird. I don't really have other words for it. It was just shit, but weird. It was
good fight back, but what happened in that first 20?
Obviously, we know Stormer's side, and they did play the Lions obviously a couple of weeks before they played them. Not a couple of weeks, but like a month or so before, or whatever. And they beat the Lions comfortably in Cape Town. It looked like the Lions were no match, and you guys still had injuries there. But yeah, that's the thing. I just see the Stormers side being deflated, but at the same time, it's a derby, so they will be up for it regardless. It's going to take guys like Ivan Rus, Dion Fourie to seriously just ignite something. And we know the Stormers, if they have ball in hand and it's counter-attacking rugby, we know what they can do. I mean, we've seen it. But like you said, I have to back the Bulls because on form, we are better. On paper, with the players available, we're better. So the Bulls can't now go and lose this, because seriously, that will be a serious a downer, because we need to finish top 2, in my opinion, to even stand a chance of winning this thing. And do I think we'll win? No. I don't think we'll win the URC. But if we want to get as far as we want, you've got to keep winning your games, because, it's all about home advantage these days, because this URC, you never know. You actually never know. So
yeah. And then the other derby, final little chat point, Lions versus the Sharks at Ellis Park. Sharks on a good run at the moment. Really looking good.
Currie Cup rematch.
Yeah. I'm backing the Sharks to get it done, though.
Oh, yeah, same. I don't think
just look too good.
I watched the Lions against the Bulls, and the only player that really had me going, that guy's dangerous, was Henk van Wyk.
And he went off injured as well.
Yeah, for goodness sake. I mean, what's new? But he was the only guy that had me like, there's a bit of danger there. But as for the rest, honestly, I just did not see. For guys that got called up to the Springbok alignment camp, that's not how you answer your call up. Because
no, not at all.
Because look, the Bulls were not fantastic against the Lions. Don't get me wrong. So the Lions were just not great at all. So yeah, Sharks should actually win this one comfortably, in my opinion. I think the Sharks win it by like 14 points.
Yeah, I'll match you on that. The run of form that the Sharks have been on. You look at the form that some of their individual players has been on as well. Ethan Hooker just looks absolutely unstoppable at the moment. Lorenzo Julius playing some scintillating rugby. You just know and they're a quality team. Like, you just look at the names. They can choose a C team and it's still so strong.
And they're missing some big names as well. So that Sharks team is only going to get better. And look what they did at Loftus, right? It's not like they made it look easy at Loftus, and I'll admit that they did not look hassled at all. And in my opinion, I think it's a bit easier to win at Ellis Park these days. So I think they're going to absolutely say that Currie Cup final win should have been, without the rain, it would have been more than just the last minute kick. It would have been a lot more, and they're going to prove it. And I think guys like Ethan Hooker, Lacanio Lorenzo Julius, Sia's back on the bench, obviously. Like, there's going to be big players, big time, and I see the Sharks winning this comfortably. Like, I cannot see the Lions winning it.
Yeah, no, I fully agree. We'll wrap it up there, people. Thank you very much for watching. Please do remember to hit that like and subscribe button. We do appreciate you guys, and we'll try and be a bit more active come next week again if Brevan's electricity actually holds up. But you just never know. Anyway, we do appreciate you guys, and we will see you next time. Bye bye. Ciao.